Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the In Theater podcast. This is the first episode of season 2, and we talked to Eric Herrera, who is was a combat engineer, primarily doing route clearance missions, which is something I have a lot of respect for. Route clearance saved a lot of lives. If you don't know what route clearance is, it's basically a team of people who ride around in big trucks and get nice and close to roadside bombs and try to clear that so other people can utilize the roadway. Just a couple notes on this for people watching the YouTube video. I obviously don't know what the hell I'm doing with video. I'm figuring it out. So I apologize for the shitty audio. That's going to be better the next time, but I was using a Zoom call. And also apologize for this fucking beaming light that is currently beaming, even in this very clip that I talk about it. So, yeah. But, yeah, hope you all enjoy this. Okay.
My name is Eric Herrera. I live out in the suburbs of Chicago. Been out of the military for about 11 years now. I work as a property manager now. Just busy family and kids, and work is basically it. Car shows, try to get out. I actually have my own Humvee. That's from the Ohio National Guard. So it's it was a CO vehicle, so it definitely never got driven. So it's actually in decent condition.
That's sick.
Rather than all beat up. So, just sports and typical guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm an Eagles fan, and they're playing tonight. But no, I'm right there with you. Kind of happy sports are a thing again. Mm-hmm. And then military background questions, like what was your branch, what was your MOS, how long were you in, and then any deployments and where'd you go, type of thing.
Yeah, I joined in 2005, got out 2010. Was combat engineer. It was 21 Bravo or 12 Bravo. It keeps switching back and forth. I was stationed out in Schweinfurt, Germany, for my whole time. I spent 3 years out there. My other 2 years were in Iraq. Well, one was out in Baghdad for about 15 months, and another 12 months out in a town called Hilla. It's like maybe an hour and a half south of Baghdad.
Right on. Sick. Yeah, I deployed in 2011 to Afghanistan, but I always thought it was cool because the combat engineers, all the stuff that we were, we had, and like the PESCO barriers and all that stuff that was created at some point. At some point, it was just some flat dirt. And I just thought it was cool that, that at some point in time, there's a bunch of dudes there just like building shit and turned it into it became like my home. But yeah, when we were there, they were doing, and you probably did this too, but the combat engineers were doing mainly like route clearance stuff. Is that what you did a lot of?
That's all we did.
Yeah.
We had like an A&O platoon that would do fortifications for small FOBs, putting up sniper screens too. That was a big thing at the time. But yeah, we mainly did route clearance, maybe about 6 times a week. Missions would be maybe like 8 to 12 hours, depending on where we would go or what we would find. So that's so that was around like 07, or no, I'm sorry, 06, 07. And that was the time when Bush had his surge too. So it was like 20,000 more troops. And yeah, we felt them, man. The lines at the DFAC got even longer, but a lot of other guys, a lot of movement going around in Baghdad. So we were out there constantly. I think we had about 3 platoons going 3 times a day. So like morning, afternoon, and at night. So vehicles were constantly going.
Yeah. It's like a really high pace, right? So I just feel like, because everybody wants to request route clearance and stuff like that. I just feel like, because no one wants to get blown up. So it makes sense, but there's only, you can only be so many places at one time.
Yeah, we controlled entire the Baghdad AO.
Holy crap.
So yeah, as far west as because the airport was Camp Liberty, so as far west as Camp Liberty, and then far east as the Euphrates. So that was going through there, and then I know there was another route clearance on the other side that would go through Sadr City and all those other places.
Yeah,
it's constantly busy.
Yeah, and you went to Iraq twice or one time? I think you said twice. Right? Yeah. Right on.
Second deployment wasn't as bad as the first one, but I mean, any deployment's rough as it is.
Yeah. Is it? It must be. I mean, I was infantry, so definitely had my own share of like fucked up experiences. But I feel like route clearance, man. I feel like I just feel like you're always wondering if you're gonna get blown up. I mean, I don't know, but you're literally looking for bombs in the dirt or in the street. So how is that? What is that like to be like always? What's it like to be looking for bombs in the street?
So yeah, you're going 5 miles an hour down the road, looking out the window, basically. I mean, we would have the Buffalo. If you ever see any of those, I think I got.
Oh yeah,
I got one little one right here. So.
Oh hell yeah.
It's a little miniature one. We had like these Huskies that had like mine detectors on them, but they would detect metal in the ground, but we're in the middle of the city, so it would pick up anything that was going on. I think the Huskies were more effective in Afghanistan because of all the deep burieds out there.
Yeah.
But we were using Huskies because in our lead vehicle, we would have maybe 3 or 4 guys in them. And if that vehicle got blown up, that's 3 or 4 casualties. So we were actually using the Huskies. Since it's a one-man vehicle, they were in the lead. And if they got blown up by something, it was only 1 casualty we had to deal with. I mean, it's a little fucked up, but I mean, that's what we had to do.
Yeah.
I mean, constantly changing different IEDs. I mean, I'm pretty sure you've seen a few. I mean, cell phone detonated. Some people were even using like washing machine timers. We would even find Christmas lights across the road for pressure IEDs and EFPs that were also around too. Those were our biggest threats. Those were like pretty much the only things that would be able to go through our vehicles, unless it was like a deep buried and it just take the whole thing apart. But I mean, yeah, constantly. I don't think my first deployment, we never went more than 2 days without finding something. So it was a constant thing. I mean, I'm me myself. I've been blown up twice, but I have guys in my platoon that's been 3, 4, 5 times. And the sad thing about it is the only way you get over it. What we would get over it was just laugh about it. Because I mean, you start dwelling on that stuff, then you get scared and just ass puckered up all the time.
Yeah. My lead vehicle hit it is kind of interesting to think about the different creative ways they try to hide the bombs, because one of our lead vehicle hit pretty big ID, and it was a string. It was the bomb attached to like a string attached to a rock, and when the truck ran over the rock, I guess it pulled the string or something like that. And but we saw the rock. So after the dust settled, and they were actually really pretty fucked up. So they had to get medevaced. One guy lost his leg, but the rock was still there. The rock was just still there with the twine or whatever the hell it was around it. And I was like, this motherfucker. Some dude sat in his bedroom thinking of creative ways to do that shit. And I'm like, that motherfucker.
Yeah, it's just the ingenuity sometimes was just kind of unreal. I mean, we'd see a few things like over and over again, but we'd just be amazed on how they would do it, especially like the rocks. There'd be EFPs in the rocks. And even they were taking chunks out of the curb and taking that out and then molding an EFP into a curve and put the curve back in and try to like disguise it as much as possible. And those were the hardest ones to find. We've been hit by a few, and one of them we did lose one guy during that EFP, and it was just, sometimes it's just unreal, because I mean, there are signs like people will be scattered or not around that area. So I mean, that those times you're kind of most vigilant, but some of the times it's really scary when there's actually people around walking and they set these things off. Just like no accountability or no sense of anyone's life. So it's harder.
Yeah. What is the EFP? Is just like a metal projectile, right? It's
it's like a copper cylinder, depending, I think some of them like 12 inches in diameter sometimes. And then it's like a giant bullet literally coming right at you and go through anything like butter.
And then the insides of the truck, son of a bitch. I guess just the force screws up. Like the projectile doesn't have to hit you, right? Like it pretty much screws the whole truck up, right? Like you don't have to be hit by the projectile. Just the pressure itself basically blows the truck up, I think, right? Or
I know we got hit by one EFP. It literally compressed the RG31. So the RG, I don't know if you guys have ever seen those.
Yeah, we had an RG31.
Yeah. So what happened is that it was a 3 or 4 cylinder EFP, so it had 4 shells in it, and all that pressure compressed the vehicle, and the gunner fell down, and he actually got compressed when after the whole thing, they couldn't even get him out. Even in the front, there's like that little opening where the gunner is. We couldn't even get the driver out because that whole thing was so compressed with all this gear on and everything. You couldn't even get him out. It's just, it does a lot of damage.
Holy shit. Yeah, we had an RG get hit by an IED. And it's funny because I think I don't know if they're designed to do this, but it just broke in half basically. Like it's quite a boxy vehicle anyways, but it almost was like it separated the box part from the rest of the front. It was just like, it's designed that way.
It was designed with that the bottom was like a V, and it was supposed to be designed to deflect debris, but I don't know how well that ever did. It just stuff would just go through it anyways. But I mean, that's what they tell us.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Is the Humvee that you have, I didn't know you could have that for like personal use. I didn't know you could just drive around in a Humvee. But
it's an M998.
Okay.
So it's not like the M1151s or something like that, like the up armored ones. These were the ones that were this one's like an 86. So this one was used like the Desert Storm purposes. So I mean, like right now the military is selling them all because now they're getting this new type of vehicle. It kind of looks like between like an MRAP and an MP vehicle almost looking thing. So they're getting rid of all these Humvees. They're auctioning them off, and that's where I got it from off a guy. He got it off one of the auctions. So
shit. Yeah.
But most of the ones that are on there are really beat up. Like there's things severely wrong with them. So a lot of guys just buy them for parts.
Yeah. I mean, the ones we have they're falling apart, and I can't believe we're still using them. But we didn't have one in deployment, so that was nice. But in garrison, I was like, "What the fuck? Can't even start this thing."
Yeah, we had them in Germany. Like we had a bunch of them, and the 113 troop carriers. We had them. we weren't one of the units that had Bradleys. There were a couple of combat engineer units that had Bradleys. But those, we ended up having a unit from Fort Hood get attached to us, so it was nice having the Bradleys out on mission every once in a while.
Oh yeah, I forgot because they're mechan or that I forget what unit that is, but maybe it's old Ironsides or something. But they're mechanized. And people that I've never been in a Bradley, but people that have been in them say they just love they love Strikers and Bradleys a lot. Like they just think they're just fucking the shit. So I never been in one though. And I could see it being badass. I mean, they have a cannon on that thing, and it's like really up armored. So
it gets hot inside though.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Are you from the Chicago area, or did you grow up there?
Yeah, I've lived here all my life. So I mean, grew up as a Sox fan. So, but I lived on the north side of Chicago, and that's where all the Cubs fans are. But
yeah,
I lived here all my life. When I came back, I decided to stay here, and it's a little rough now. Crazy with everything that's going on. The governor's a little bit of a prick, but
yeah. I was stationed at Fort Knox, and I had a buddy from Basic actually, who was from Chicago. So Chicago's 5 hours from Fort Knox, so I'd go up there and we'd chill and go pretty hard. But I like Chicago a lot. But the caveat is, and what everybody says is, just the winter sucks. It's just cold as shit. It's windy. But
you stayed down there by Fort Knox, or
no. Then I actually, when I got back from deployment, I came out to Colorado. So I'm from New Jersey originally, and then but when I got back from deployment, we did a group trip of a bunch of dudes that went to Colorado to go snowboarding. And that was in 2012. And I ended up just thinking it was fucking awesome out here. And eventually made my way out here just 2 years ago. And so now I'm living in Denver. And it's nice, man. It's cool. The weather's great. People don't really know that, but there's a lot of sun here. And when it snows, it melts the next day just because there's so much sun, man. It's dry. It's like that dry. It's not humid at all. So it's pretty nice. I'm still feeling it out. I don't know if I'll stay, but it's pretty badass. So yeah, man.
Where were you in Afghanistan?
I went to the Coast Province, which is eastern. It's border with Pakistan. Yeah, it's a kind of a weird area because it had combat was like relatively. It wasn't the safest spot, but it wasn't the shittiest. So it was kind of weird there. But there's like a lot of high level terrorists, Taliban, Al Qaeda that were there, and they had like training camps and stuff that around that area, and it was pretty mountainous. And the other interesting thing is that Russia, a lot of remnants from Russia still there, and it was kind of interesting because we'd go out on patrols and stuff, and we'd see like a couple of white kids walking around, and we were like, because the Russians are brutal from what I hear, and I was like, I think they're like raping some of them and stuff like that. So I was like, this guy does not look like an Afghan. He looks like a Russian. So it was kind of weird to go around and see some of that. But yeah. Different. Yeah.
Really didn't get much of that. It was just a lot of back and forth with like different people, especially in our area. Like people that we knew that were friendly, but then sometimes they'd be gone like the next day or something like that. We try to talk to people as much, but I mean, at the same time, you really don't know what's going to happen. So we had translators, but sometimes they would be a little sketchy too. I think one of our translators, he was like a 16-year-old kid too. It was like a little unorthodox, and like he would not. Where we were like close to the wall of the fob, and Like we see him just walking by the wall, and just like he'd be waving. And like, really, a lot of pretty sure a lot of the translators don't even want to know that they're translators.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a little bit weird.
Yeah, I remember experiencing that too. I remember seeing because we would always work with the Afghan police and army and all that stuff because that was part of the mission was to like ready them, which obviously was a failure. But I remember just they'd be so casual, and maybe I would be too if there's war here in the United States. But I mean, we would get back from a patrol and just like we'd be around some bad dudes, and they would just kind of like some of them would just kind of flaunt around. You know, we'd get back to patrol, and they would just kind of walk out of the outpost to their house, and like it was nothing. And I wouldn't be caught. You know, we didn't even take. We were fully, full battle rattle. I mean, everything, gloves and eye pro. Couldn't even leave without that stuff. So yeah, it was kind of weird to see different Afghans and interpreters and police just like kind of not giving a fuck. And some of them got killed. So that's there's just some complacency.
Yeah, I think we would come across checkpoints. They're Iraqi army or Iraqi police, and they would all be wearing ski masks, and because like they didn't want people to know who they were. So I mean, it was just I don't know. I wasn't too surprised when the whole ordeal just happened in Afghanistan that they just took off and ran. And a lot of people ask me the same thing. I'm like, well, that's what happened when we first invaded Iraq. They took off their uniforms and ran away. What makes anything else different? So,
yeah, I don't know who is given like I don't know where they're receiving their information from, but I mean everybody that's has seen anything in Afghanistan knows that like those people they're not fighting. Well, a lot of them are pussies. They actually are. At least a lot of the Afghans I met. And then number two, and I don't hate them. I actually respect the people. I just think I just couldn't believe how much of pussies some of them were. But then secondly, they don't care. Like they don't think about like they don't have any pride to fight for the country. Like they don't think of it the way we do. So anybody, I mean, I knew right away. Like they were never going to hold. They were never hold together.
Big waste of time.
Yeah, I don't. I think this is like I'm interested to see where it goes because I think Iraq in some ways, and maybe I don't know enough about Iraq, but in some ways I almost feel like it's kind of turning into a success story because, and that's a place I never really, I think most people don't really agree we should have been there, but at this point in time, it's starting to stabilize more, I feel like. And now we have not really an ally, but we have a presence in that country and some type of like, to a degree, there's some type of like, to a degree, they're an ally, I guess. And in an area that just like generally kind of hates us. So it's just interesting because I'm interested to see where Iraq pans out, and I'd be interested to see how Afghanistan pans out because I'm not. Yeah, I think as long as we can, if they don't harbor terrorism in the future, then I think maybe it's a success. I don't know.
I think, what was it? After I left in 2010, the units that I was with and the guys that were still in, they weren't even going to Iraq anymore. They were going to Afghanistan. They needed more route clearance over there. Even National Guard guys, a lot of guys I know went National Guard and their unit was doing route clearance. So, I mean, I don't think any guys I know ever went back to Iraq. They just saw everyone went to Afghanistan. So, maybe it's stabilizing. I just don't pay attention to it as much anymore.
Yeah. And that's kind of true for me too. I could just be talking bullshit right now, but I guess I haven't heard any bad news about Iraq in the past couple of years. So I don't know. I guess my assumption is maybe it has stabilized a little bit. But yeah. So for this, what we usually do is the guest or whatever the speaker usually tells a story or two from deployment, from which I'm sure you have a million. But is there is there anything that really stands out to you as like, you know, a good deployment story that you'd be willing to tell?
Yeah.
And it
First
could be
time
about anything. Yeah.
yeah. So first time I got blown up. You want me to tell the story now, or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
So for so at the time I was a Bears fan, and the Bears were playing the Colts in the Super Bowl, and we had night mission that night, and we would be able to kind of get back in time to see the game because of the time difference. And this night ended up being the first time I actually got blown up, and we went out on mission. I think we weren't even a mile out the gate. One of the Huskies, he just drove by this little traffic cone. He didn't think much of it. And I was in my LT's vehicle, and the traffic cone ended up blowing up on our vehicle. It took out our front tire. I was in the back of the RG on the Blue Force Tracker, and all of a sudden I just ended up from one side of the vehicle to the other, like it was an instant. And the dust and debris just filling up your lungs. You really couldn't breathe. And it took me a couple of minutes, or it took me a couple of seconds to realize what was actually going on. And I was like, oh man, we actually got hit. So a weird thing always happens when our vehicles would get blown up is that the comms in the vehicle would like shut down. So even when we had the headsets on and talking to each other inside, we couldn't. So we would have to take the headsets off, and then we couldn't even get in contact with the other vehicles on patrol. So I actually had to go all the way up, grab the gunner. He was still standing up, and like you said, he's good to go. Grab the driver and grab my LT. I'm like, hey man, you guys all good? And everyone's checking. They're like, yeah, we're good. My LT was swearing because he was about to call over the radio, hey, let's stop and check out this cone, and the cone blew up on him. And we had like procedures that we would do if we didn't get a response from the vehicle. So all I could see was the other RGs and the Buffaloes driving past us. And all I was thinking about to get to the back door and open up and say, hey, we're good. So they're like, do you got any casualties? No, we're good. We're just a little wind knocked out of us, whatever. So they're like, all right. So we call up the fob and say, hey, we just got blown up. Our RG's down. The wheels are all 3 of the wheels were blown out. And it's like, we can't continue mission. We have to end the night. At this time, we were getting so busy that our battalion had a 2 blown up rule. So if we got blown up once and we couldn't continue, we had to bring the vehicle back, prep another vehicle, and go back out on mission. And if we got blown up again, then they say, okay, you could stop. But since we just started, we had to go back, and with only one wheel working, it kind of sucked because we had to tow it back. So we had to tow it a mile. I mean, we go 5 miles an hour as it is. I think we were going like 1 or 2 miles an hour, dragging this thing down the road. I'm like, man, I'm going to miss the damn Super Bowl and everything like this. And get back to FOB. Our medic comes out and checks us over. He says, hey, you want to go to the CCP? I'm like, nah, we're good. Little wind knocked out of us, no problem. We didn't have any more RG-31, so LT had to put for a Humvee. So he came up to me and said, hey, we really don't need you. I mean, all you can do is be in the back seat. You really can't see out the window. So you could stay if you want. And I was actually kind of excited. Like, oh man, I'm actually going to see the Super Bowl now. But I don't know. Just like something in me was, you know what? If I don't go back out, the next time I go back out, I'm going to be like scared shitless. So I'm like, you know what? I told sir, let me go up in the Buffalo. There's extra seats up in the Buffalo. Extra eyes don't hurt. He's like, sure? I'm like, yeah. So we get in the Buffalo. We go. I'm hoping that maybe I could see like the second half of the Super Bowl. Yeah. And so we continue mission. We're out there for a couple hours, and we come up on this road that's the median is just always filled with trash. It's like burnt out tires and garbage and just anything you could think of was just dumped along this road. And we saw this garbage bag that looked like it had like two large cylinders in it. So we came up with the buffalo. We're shaking the bag. All of a sudden, these two big artillery rounds just fall out of the bag and hit the ground. And me seeing that, I was already shell shocked from before. So I like ran to the back of the buffalo screaming. And I think it was one of the squad leaders like, "Where the hell are you going?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just saw it. I just felt like running because before I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing." So I get back down. So it's big, huge artillery rounds. They were all taped together.
You were moving it with the arm on the buffalo, right?
Yeah,
you
buffalo.
You weren't physically out of the buffalo.
No, we're inside. Okay. But I mean, it's big enough. It fits like 8 guys. Yeah. But I mean, it's still room to move around. But I just ran to the back door. But I don't know what made me do that. But I was just kind of freaked out. And squad leaders was like, "Get back in the seat. What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, all right, I'm going. So we're looking at the rounds. They're all taped up. And it's got this nice little, I don't know what it was. It looked like a 2x4 block. One side of it had a cell phone, and the other side had like a bunch of these business cards that were taped together. And it was obviously cell phone detonated. But I mean, I know we have all them jammers and everything. So I guess it really wasn't.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had like, it was called like the Caterpillar, I don't know, something like that. But yeah, so I'm like, oh my God. And we're far out from base. So when we usually have things like that, we have to call EOD. Yeah. And so we're like, man, we're really out here. And have to call EOD. And in our area, the field artillery guys were the guys that escorted the EOD out there. And those guys sucked with directions. Even when even when we could see them far away, they go down the wrong road or whatever. So it took them like an hour and a half, 2 hours just to get out to us because they're going slow and it's in the middle of the night. They finally get it and they blow it up in place. Continue mission. By this time, I think already the Bears were getting their ass kicked like in the fourth quarter. So I think I only watched like the last 2 minutes of the game when I got back. But that was like that. I always tell people that's my Super Bowl story.
Fucking shit. Did they ever let y'all blow stuff up, or is it pretty much always DOD required, or does DOD ride with you at times?
We actually can do it.
Yeah,
we just like to have too much fun with explosives, so they don't. They were allowing us to do like small things.
Yeah,
but then we had an incident where a car blew up on accident, and so they said no more, and so the EOD guys would come out, but around the surge, we were saying, hey, why are we wasting each other's times? Have EOD come out with us, and they were like against it. They didn't want.
I bet
they didn't want nothing to do with going out the wire, anything. I mean, I get their job is dangerous, but I mean, they're a little bit of pussies too sometimes.
Yeah,
and
they try to take the prestige of being. A lot of them try to take that like special operations prestige when they don't really do anything too crazy.
Oh yeah, they had their own little compound on the base too, like a security compound. There'll be another time where we just found like a random artillery shell on our route. It was empty, clearly empty. It was all cylindered out. There was nothing in it, but they wanted us to bring those back. So we brought one back. We went up to the EOD compound. He says, hey man, we found this on the side of the road. We decided to give it to you. The guy that opened the door is like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, get that away from here. I'm like, it's empty. We're like showing it. The guy closed the door and we're like waiting out there for like 10 minutes, like knocking. All of a sudden this dude comes out full bomb suit and takes the round from us. They're like, seriously, there's nothing in this thing. But like, oh God. Sometimes they're a little bit too dramatic for us.
Yeah. No, I like that. That is a good story. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I was definitely there deployed on during this. Well, yeah. I'm trying to think my Super Bowl experience when I was deployed. I don't know if we had it on or not, but we did get the Armed Forces Network, AFN, or whatever the hell it was. Sometimes I would actually have some okay stuff on it.
Oh, great television.
Yeah. Yeah. But you probably what's the biggest bomb that you've seen? Like, have you seen something that's just a fucking massive, can pretty much destroy anything, any truck bomb out there? Or
I think the largest EFP we found was maybe 5 cylinders. We would get reports sometimes up to 10, but these things were so huge that you really couldn't disguise it. So they were found right away.
yeah,
We get reports in every day finding weird things. I think probably one of the bigger ones was the two artillery rounds we found together that Super Bowl night, which was like pretty elaborate. But yeah, the curb ones were probably the most well camouflaged we've ever seen. Those were the scary ones.
Oh yeah.
There was only one EOD guy I respected, and he actually was a Navy officer. And they were out on mission with us one time. We found this, it was a decent sized rock, but it was oddly placed like toward the road. And it was like the only rock that was on the side of the road. And we stopped the convoy saying, "Hey, EOD, come check out this rock for us." He literally he went out the back door of their truck, walked behind this rock, because obviously it only detonates one way, kind of like a claymore, these EFPs. So he was walking behind the rock, looking at it. All of a sudden, he just kicked it. It kicked it over, and we're over the radio, like, this fucking guy just kicked this rock. He's like, all you see him, his hands up. He's like, all clear. Walk back in the truck. It's like, okay, that guy had some brass balls on him.
Holy fuck. Holy shit. Fuck that. I think the Duke, I think the times we've missed IEDs and whatever system, that jammer system is, I think we call it the Duke system. Not sure if that's Duke. Even what it's called, but it definitely saved our ass a couple times, because I remember one time we left a village that we knew that this village always had IEDs at it, and has hit multiple people and I think killed people in previous deployments. So we were leaving, and the road system in Afghanistan, like, I get anxiety in cars as it is, but like, you're always about to fucking roll or just hit something a weird way in these top heavy trucks and just flip. We had like 7 rollovers, and no one was killed in those, but it was always a threat, man. And it was just always scary. But yeah, I remember we're going, and the other thing is, one of like the main in Afghanistan, almost like the main road system is dried riverbeds, wadis. That's what we call them. Yeah. And so we would be constantly going in and out of the wadi system, and that could be sketchy at times because it's always going to be like a dirt ramp. And but yeah, I remember we were getting out of the wadi system, leaving this village, and we get about 200 feet past, the whole patrol gets about 200 feet past the kind of that on ramp, or whatever the hell you call it, off ramp. And then sure enough, there was something blows up after we leave, right on that ramp. And I don't know what really happened, but I suspect it was just the Duke system probably jammed whatever signal was going out there. And then as we got far enough away, it received the signal and blew up. But we also had a mine roller. I'm sure y'all had them, or maybe.
Yeah, we had mine rollers.
Yeah,
they were good to run over the hedgehogs that run across the road. Like these white hedgehogs all over Baghdad.
Really?
It's just we saw like a snapping turtle one time crossing the road, and it's just like the weirdest animals that we would come across. But yeah, the white hedgehogs were the real weird ones. And then we'd have the roller, and they always see him just dart across the road, and they're like, well, we can't stop. And then all of a sudden you see the roller bump, and then the big blood stain around the roller all of a sudden.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The mine roller, we never hit anything with it. We did roll off. We rolled basically off a little wadi cliff. And the only thing, the truck remained up, but the mine roller was actually down into the wadi. And that was a bitch to get out. We actually were in trucks a lot, so we could probably relate on a lot of different things. Just like the bullshit you got to put up with vehicles, like and just trying to get them stuck and unstuck and tow them and whatever. Yeah.
No, I know. Afghanistan, the roads were really rough. I'm kind of glad I didn't go there, because that would have been, especially dealing with the vehicles we had, rollovers and everything. I mean, at least in Baghdad, we had highway systems.
Yeah.
I mean, there'd be times where we have to go down a dirt road every once in a while, but we would try to avoid them.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess there's a lot of asphalt there. Yeah, again, such different, like two different styles of combat, which is interesting, because it's just like you have extremely expansive in Afghanistan, where people will shoot at you from miles away, literally. I mean, they're never going to really hit you that far. And then you have Iraq, where you're dealing with everything's just up in your face and close. And yeah.
It's like in Afghanistan, like the towns are like really far away and there's nothing in between them.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it is kind of been like, it is the villages are kind of in bunches. So like you'll be in a village and you follow a dirt road and there's nothing really around you. Then you get another cluster of houses in a village. And we did have the city of Coast was near us. So that was a legit city with asphalt and paved roads and shops and stuff. But I mean, almost all the stuff we did was dirt. And all the houses are made of mud, like mud huts. Yeah. So it was crazy.
You see these little, we used to see these tiny little mud huts with this huge ass satellite dish on the top of it.
Dude, I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that. And I never understood, like, because I never forget, there was a time when we were clearing a house looking for weapons caches or caches. And I had a metal detector in my hand, and it was dark in this house because there's no electricity. And I'm kind of like searching around, and I go in this room, which is completely black, completely dark. Can't see anything. And it smells like shit and ammonia in here. And I know that I noticed them like stepping on squishy things. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And we turned the flashlight on, and I'm in their bathroom. Basically, it's just like the room they shit in. And I was like, fuck, God damn it. But yeah, like that's why you find it's so weird, because they're living in houses that are like that. And there's just a weird intermingling of technology in an area like that, where you like they're shitting in a room, but at the same time they got like cell phones and stuff. And it's just interesting. I don't really know how it works, but it's weird.
We would go on little fobs, and they're basically two houses put together, and then they put like Alaskan barriers around it. Their towers. Yeah. But yeah, it was just mainly cinder block houses. That was really all we went in there. They were really nice and cool. Yeah. So I mean, we weren't feeling the heat from the outside. But no, it was never a point where we actually had to go clearing houses. I mean, there was a time where we actually had dismounted route clearance. We had these two roads. We had these two roads that were black all the time. So the only people that were able to go down there were Abrams and us. And there was just so much activity. We hooked up with a tanker unit that had a couple of Abrams with them. And we had the guys that had the Bradleys. And we just went down this road. So the Bradleys went up first and everything. And make sure to clear the roads with the buffalo. But at the end, there was a bunch of us dismounted, and we were just picking up random stuff that was just debris in the road. And we all of a sudden, one of the guys like turns around and says, "What the fuck is that?" And it's a propane tank that has a wire hanging out of it, but the propane tank is smashed. But I'm like, how the fuck did you guys not see this damn thing? Yeah. Like shitting our pants is a little bit, but I mean, it was nothing, but just being in the dark and seeing that, it just really gets you going.
Yeah. All right, I don't want to take up all your time. This has been great, by the way. Thanks for coming on, man. I didn't say that initially. I kind of went on a hiatus with this. It's just like a fun and creative project, and then and now I'm kind of picking it back up. But definitely appreciate like you taking some time out and just shooting shit a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, I'll put this on a podcast. I'll put it on a that I have, and put it on my website. And is there any other stories you could think of that you'd want to tell, or nothing really coming to mind? There's a million. It's kind of weird to think through.
I mean, at times like times we get blown up. Like being in the Husky was like an eye opener in itself. Just being in there by yourself. So a lot of guys bring in their headphones and just listen to music. I mean, that's the only thing they have. But a lot of times, guys like they get blown up in the Husky. And we're like, oh shit. But then you hear them call over the radio and you're like, God damn it, I saw that damn thing, but I didn't call it in time. I mean, just like I tell a lot of people, just like us, I mean, we're a little crazy at times, but we have to have that sense of humor. Otherwise we lose ourselves. And it's just, it's a little nuts and a little hard to comprehend. But I mean, that's the only way we were able to get through things. Even we come back on mission, we're like, oh, did you see that? Oh man, that was nuts. Or we come back to Germany and like, hey, you remember this time? And like, you couldn't even remember the times you get blown up. You have to actually get details of what day it was or whatever. But we just, I mean, we lost 4 guys, but at the same time, I mean, that was the only way for us to kind of cope. I mean, just telling stories about them and all the other times that we would find things. I mean, that was the only way we could get through it.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't. Yeah, people who haven't had a lot of hardship in their lives don't really understand. Some of these people don't really understand insensitivity, and that's because it's it's kind of like a coping mechanism. I agree for sure. I mean, you just go. I mean, you just go nuts. I mean, and not even just from the strut, like not even just from the combat, but even just like. You're in just even boredom or whatever. I mean, you're away from everything really for a long period of time with in an austere environment with no amenities. And like, it just fucking sucks. I mean, the deployment sucks. And I guess there's pride to that. But if you don't find a way to make fun of things, I mean, you're going to lose your fucking brain.
Well, the American people got a taste of it, what it's like to be like that with the quarantines and everything like that.
True.
And I mean, people are asking me like, how are you doing? I'm like, I did this for 2 years. I'm used to being by myself. Yeah. Like sometimes it's great. I mean, some people like piss me off sometimes. I just don't want to be around them. But I mean, I found ways to like occupy myself just the way I did then. So it really wasn't that much of a big deal. But I saw like a lot of people were just like having anxiety just being away from people. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm used to it or whatever. But it's just okay.
I'm right there with you. Yeah. Oh, all right, man.
This was good, man.
Yeah, dude. No, thanks for doing this. I'll send you I'll put it up and I'll send you a message and I'll tell you when it's out there and all that good stuff. Obviously feel free to reach out for anything, anytime. If you ever come out to Colorado, give me a shout. Any of that fun stuff. So
you're in Denver, right?
Yep. A lot of good beer here.
Yeah.
But
I can't drink Coors though, man. I don't know. That stuff gets me. the taste or something. I don't know.
There's a lot. There's everything here. They got Coors is I guess the big thing here, but everybody drinks like craft stuff here, and there's some good stuff for sure. But yeah, man. All right. Well, dude. Thanks again. I'll send you a message, and I'll keep in touch.
I mean, you take it easy.
All right, man. You too.
Yo, thanks for checking out this episode. Once again, that was Eric Herrera, combat engineer, primarily doing route clearance from the Chicago area. If y'all like what we're doing here, please subscribe and also leave a review. That's pretty helpful. And there's also a website if you want to learn more about Eric and some other people we've had on. Go to www.intheaterpodcast.com. There's also an Instagram and a Facebook. And if you want to come on, or you know anybody that might want to come on, let them know, because I'm constantly looking for new people, and it's just cool to talk to different vets and learn their interesting stories. So other than that, stay chaotic, and I will talk to y'all later.